Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome. Thanks for coming out. We're going to be doing another Road to Pro little setup workshop. Hopefully, this time, fingers crossed, knock on wood, the internet will not be a problem. Everything should be good now. If it's not, me and Comcast are going to have a talk. So, um, yeah, we're going to be doing that. What's up, David? If you want to join me in the test session, what's up, Jordy? It's open. There's no password or anything. It's just a practice session. It's no race or anything like that. It's just a 3-hour practice session. It's the same time of day and all that stuff like that as the Road to Pro race. So, the Road to Pro race, which I should have looked real quick. I did not. I think it's 200 laps. No, 200 laps. 120 laps. What was I thinking? 200. 120 laps. I think the NIS race is 200. Yeah. So 120 laps at Dover. So for me, what I need to do is, and here's the deal, full disclosure, I already have a setup built that is the insider setup this week that I absolutely love. I've already talked about it in my last live streams that I think it's going to be like one of my best chances at winning one of these races. I freaking love it. I've already had a couple of people message me saying, dude, that setup is fire. So I'm hoping that we can have a phenomenal race with it this week. But that being said, I'm going to build another one just because you never know. Might be able to figure something out. And I want to be able to get 60 laps out of the tires pushing hard, right? Doesn't have to be to the limit, max 100%, but I want to be able to get 60 laps out of the tires, have the thing still be good, and, after 60 laps, if we're still pushing 90%, like the thing still be stable and balanced, all right? So that's what we're looking for. So what we're going to do is this is the free setup. We're going to get rid of this. We're going to start off like we always do, which I basically take the tires here. We go 45 times 0.6, which gives us 27. 27 is going to be too much, but 22 seems too low. I think 24 is a good starting spot for the left side tires here. Obviously, this is the iRacing setup that I optimized for the free setup, and we are no longer. I'm not going to run this setup. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start over from scratch, which means actually, let me see, where's my Speedway base? Is that the one I'm looking for? Yeah, I think this one will work. The Speedway base. Yep. So let's go 24 on the tires. Obviously, that's going to be too low. Oops. In terms of probably putting tilt in the truck, I would say we'll probably need probably 2/10 of an inch to start. I don't know if we'll stay with that, but probably 2/10 of an inch. Arm symmetry probably around 4. I do know at this track I do run some nose weight. I don't run a ton of nose weight, but I do run some. But we're going to start off with this actually all the way back right now. Caster looks good. Camber looks good. Springs look good. I want this at 6. I want this at 1.9 if I can get it. No, 1.8. 1.8. We want those up top. We got our gear. There are 2 options for the gear this week at Dover. You can run a 360 or a 364. Believe it or not, a 364 is too short. You're going to hit the limiter if you're running a 364, especially if you run the Highline. Been testing the insider set pretty fast. Thank you, David. Yeah, it felt really, really good to me, man. It felt really good to me. Yeah, it just... I was able to hit some really fast times with it, and when I was testing it, there wasn't a lot of fall off. So it was. I'm hoping that carries over to the race. All right, so this is what we're gonna start with. So this is my Speedway base, as you can see. Pretty much, it's basically constitute a speedway. Like, what do I constitute as a speedway? Anything over like a mile and above. So anytime I have to run 45, a minimum 45 pounds on the right side in terms of tire pressures, that's a speedway for me. That's just how I separate it. It's pretty simple. I try to keep things as simple as possible. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is bring up Motec and get the MU converter going here. We're gonna bring up the NASCAR truck workbook, and we will come back to that, and we are gonna save this as Dover RTP race. All right, so this one I'm building specifically for the Road to Pro. If it turns out that I like this one better than the Insider setup, I mean, I'm going to make these both available to the Insiders, so it doesn't really matter, but we'll see which one we decide to run. Oh, I need my race laps up also. Got to have my fuel calculator going. Okay, get rid of that. All right, I don't want that. I want... Oh. Guess I'll hop into the NASCAR voice channel and get that going. All right, here we go. Get a new piece of gum. All right, so remember, first few laps, all we're doing is just getting a feel for things. We've got to get our left front spring set. That's the key to everything. Remember, we got to get that. We got to get that nose down. We got to get that ride height dialed in before we do anything else. And I think I need to change this. Yes, I do. You guys don't want to see that. You want to see that. There we go.
They're showing up the black flag. Didn't exit the pit lane. They're going to hold you for a while.
Ah, dang it. I'm trying to drive with one hand so I can clear my black flags and I get into the wall. Damn it. Let's try that again, shall we? Really? And they gave me another black flag? Oh, I'll probably get another one because I pulled onto the track. And whenever I'm testing, I always just pull onto the track. I forgot I gotta abide by the rules. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this thing is bottoming out. A lot. So, I mean, we don't even really need to do any more laps. We can just do that. Why is my... Whoops. Why is my IRFFB not working? I bet the NV container is blocking it. Go to details, analyze weight chain. Yep, there it is. In process. There we go. Now, boom, there we go. Now it's working. Okay, so let's get Motec over here real quick because that thing was bottoming out like crazy. Really bad. I just want to see by how much. Let's see here. Ride heights. Ooh, look at that. We are dragging on the ground. And we're coil bound on the left front, like big time. So, by quite a bit. How much are we dragging here on the front splitter? I think I need no, probably a tenth. Let's... Okay, let's do that. Now the steering wheel's going crazy. Yeah, David, this is an open test session if you want to join it. It just says SSR, NASCAR Road to Pro practice session or something like that. There's no password or anything like that. And it's just an open practice. We're not going to be doing a race or qualifying or anything like that. Okay, that feels a little bit better. Now here at Dover, you're always going to bottom out some going in and out of the transition here. So where you want to be paying attention is through the middle of the corner here. Because the track is bumpy, but it's not so bumpy that you should be like dragging the nose the entire time. That shouldn't be happening. Yeah, we're still bottoming out some. Quite a bit, actually, still. I mean, our lap time isn't horrible. It's not great, but... but it's not good. Okay, so we're gonna definitely need more. Oh, I forgot. I gotta hop out of the car before I do that. There we go. Alright. Let's see how much we got here. So pretty close to the same thing. Maybe not as much. We got on the coil bind. So 73 was the low. The average is 55. What do we have on? God dang it! What do we have on the one before? Okay, so we need to bring that up just a little bit more. I almost... Let's raise that side up, drop that side down. Okay, that should be pretty good. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually lower this rear end some. Believe it or not, I actually don't want to have a ton of rake here. Although this track is fast and downforce is definitely a factor, I don't want to have too much rake in the truck, just because if you have too much rake in the truck, especially going in and out of those transitions on the corners, it can make the nose really dig in. And it can also make the truck a little bit tighter than it needs to be when you've got if you got a little too much rake in it, because that downforce, I mean, it does add grip. So take a little rake out of it, see if that helps it some too. There we go. That's better. See, that time it wasn't bottoming out. That's why the truck actually got loose. Because the front nose wasn't dragging, so the wheels could actually turn more. Okay, so let's try this again now that I know that that thing can get loose. Let's give it a couple of laps here and see what happens. Once we get this left front spring set, and not so much the left front spring, but the deflection number, once we get that set, then we're pretty good in terms of our front ride heights. Then we can start building everything else. Yeah, that feels much better. Much better. Alright, so we are not bottoming out anymore. At least if we are, it's so minimal I can't feel it. Now, on the transition going in and out of the corner, we're probably still bottoming out. That's going to happen. I don't care about that. That's okay. I can live with that. But through the corner, which is what I really care about, we should be good now. So let's get rid of that. I want to see both those laps. And that's what I want to see. So at Dover, believe it or not, the left front, when you've got the deflection number correct, I discovered this last week, when you got the deflection number correct, your coil bind here in Motec, using the thing that I use, is going to basically be almost at 0 when you come up out of the track. That is on the exit of the turn right there. See, we're coming up out of that corner. That's the front end coming up. So we're actually just right at, I mean, it's still coil bound, but you know, it's another little bit and it would be uncoil bound. So that's what we want to see. I know with that deflection number, then we're good. So the thing is I want to make a note of that. So basically an inch, right? We've only got an inch of travel left. That's about what we want to have in terms of our deflection. Okay, so we want to make sure that we remember that for when we make adjustments, because we got a lot of adjustments to do. So the thing is that Dover's a lot like Bristol in the sense that it's a high banked, fast track, right? Now obviously Dover's faster than Bristol because Dover's a mile. Bristol's only a half mile. Now Dover doesn't have as much banking as Bristol does, but it's bigger. So Dover's a track that you can run bottom, middle, top, like you can run the high line. I wouldn't run right up on the wall because of how the corners go out and in. The exits can get really tight and you can end up in the wall. So I wouldn't run all the way up there, but you know, 3/4 of the way up, absolutely, that is a very viable and fast line, especially later on in the run. So I absolutely love this track. It's one of my favorite tracks. Now Dover falls under what I would call the high cross, high split setups. And what I mean by that is you really got just a couple types of setups, okay? So there's high cross, high split, all right? You've got a low cross, low split, and then you've got what I would consider kind of like a medium cross, medium split, all right? And what I mean by when I say cross and split is a high cross, high split would be higher cross weight, higher rear spring split, okay? A lower cross weight, lower spring split would be, or a low cross, low split would be a lower cross weight, lower spring split. So an example of that would be, look at Dover. Dover would be a high cross, high spring split. When you think about high cross weight and high spring split, you're thinking about a car when you go into the corner, you want it to squat, right? We don't want it to roll, we want it to squat. Whereas a track like New Hampshire, for example, right, which would kind of fall under that lower cross weight, lower split, that where the car's going to roll more, right? Because we don't have that banking for the car to squat against, okay? So that's what we're kind of looking at here with Dover. So I want to have more cross weight and higher rear spring split. That's going to allow us to really drive it in nice and hard, get the car rotated and set because of that rear spring split, and then get a good drive out of the corner, which we definitely want at this track because, as you know, if you got a bunch of wheel put into it and you're on throttle, that thing can snap loose on you, right? We want to come off nice and straight, but not tight. We just want to come off straight, all right? So we've got our deflection number good, so we're going to save that right now. I didn't even check the ride height. I just looked at that. Okay, so yeah, like I said, we're not bottoming out. We just got little scrapes here and there, and I will bet dollars to donuts, and we do have a big one, but that's going to be on the transition, dropping into the corner. So I can handle those little ones because when the tires build up more pressure, that'll go away. So I'm not even worried about that, okay? So the next thing that I want to do is now I need to figure out my tape. I think 65% is going to be too much. The track tip and the time of day is right in the middle of the day. Track temp is only 91. The test sessions that I did, the track temp was around 100. I'm thinking it's going to be closer to that. So 60% should be good. I think 65 is going to be too much. So next thing we want to do is we want to get our rear spring split and our track bars figured out, okay? And that's going to go with the crossweight. Now, I can tell you right now already, the crossweight needs to be a little bit more because the truck was already getting a little bit loose. So we're going to put just a little bit of crossweight into it. Go 2 clicks up. 1 click down. 1 click down. 1 click down. Then get another click down. Yep, right there. Boom. Now we're at 54.6. 54.6 sounds pretty good. That's kind of about where I want to be. Now I am going to put more rear spring split into this thing. We're going to actually go up to a 1300 on the right rear. And we got to put this back to 688. 687 is close enough. We're going to leave all of our shocks at 5. My toe in, I'm going to have negative 130 seconds. I'm going to just leave that for right now. And I forgot I got to take my medicine. My neck's been killing me all day again. When does it not? That's not even a big deal anymore. I'll let you guys know when it feels good. Okay. And then I think you know, the other thing we need to look at is the splitter. Where's that at? Let me see. What's our splitter angle through the corner? We're in the negative. It does seem to be rolling a little bit hard. Actually, let's go to 5 on the arm symmetry so it doesn't roll as much. Our deflection's still good. Okay. All right. That should be good. Okay, so now what we're going to do is now we're going to go out. We've got this modified. I'm going to save this as -1. I just keep adding numbers to it as I adjust it. There we go. And we're going to go out now, and we're going to actually do a little bit of a run here. Not super long, but we're going to go about 15-20 laps if we can make it without wrecking. Good thing I've got admin abilities, otherwise I'd be doing stop and goes all day. And we're going to push this thing hard because we want to see now how the car does after it gets some tire wear on it, how it does with some, you know, heat in the tires, tire temps go up, you know, what's it feel like, that type of thing. What's the tire wear? You can see cold tires, she's loose. Now here's the thing, that doesn't mean that it's actually bad. Alright, and that's something that a lot of people do, is they'll go out and it's like their first or second lap and they get loose. That does not mean the setup is bad, okay? It just means that or it might just mean that you need to take it easy for the first few laps, let it wear in a little bit, and then you can really start pushing. But there's nothing wrong with that. I would rather be slower the first few laps and be fast, you know, the last 75% than the other way around. Ah, dang, 22.5. David's just out here laying down heaters. My God, David, did you even lift? Is that the insider setup? Is it the race or the qualifier? Nice. My steering is offset. We're gonna have to put some offset in the wheel to straighten that out. I gotta tell you, this thing doesn't feel bad. I actually think we might be pretty close, but here's the thing though. At this track, we've got to balance out the tire wear, and with the ballast all the way back, I don't know if that'll be the case here. We might burn up the rear tires before the front. What's up, Donkey? We're just building a truck setup for this week's Road to Pro race. I had some people asking me if I'd do this again, and I told them yeah, so we're here at Dover building a setup. I'm just doing my first, I don't want to call it a long run because it's only about 15-20 laps, but first run of this setup. We got the ride heights dialed in the front. I think I got my rake where I want it, and we're just trying out our rear spring split and our cross weight and that type of stuff, seeing how we land. I gotta tell you, this thing actually feels really good. We'll see what the tires say, because I don't think it's balanced the best. It does feel like we're a little too much on the right front, especially through the middle. Feels like that thing's kind of rolled over a little bit too much instead of squatting on the rear coming out. What's up? I'm new here and wanted to watch some iRacing. Well, what's up, Dragon? Today I'm just building the setup today for this Thursday's race. Thursday night is the Road to Pro qualifier, so I'm building the setup for that right now, kind of just going through and showing you guys how I do everything from start to finish. So I'm doing that tonight. Now tomorrow, I'm going to actually do a live stream tomorrow during the day. I'm going to do, my son has a baseball game tomorrow night, and we got to go out of town for the game. So I'm going to actually live stream during the day tomorrow. If everything goes according to plan. We just started the Sprint Car Road to Pro training, and I gotta finish a bunch of training videos for that and get those uploaded and stuff tomorrow. So if I get all that stuff done, if I get everything done I'm supposed to have done by about, I don't know, 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, then I'm going to do a live stream for a few hours and do some midday racing. And then Thursday night I'll be live streaming the Road to Pro race. Thank goodness my son doesn't have baseball Thursday. Ah, crap, I got into the wall. I would love to run the truck race in that league on Thursday, but, or excuse me, on tomorrow night, but I can't because my son's got baseball. But that's okay. Honestly, these streams help me with building. Well, that's good. I don't want to jinx it, but hopefully Dover will be the one. Donkey, I said a couple nights ago, I think Dover's going to be probably my best shot at a win since Atlanta. And, well, you know, what was it? I thought I had a pretty good shot to win at Bristol, too. I mean, you know, it was earlier on in the race when I got wrecked, but, you know, over the long run, I was definitely the fastest truck out there. I thought I had a decent shot there. They were doing 24/7s after 50 laps. Oh, dude, we're good. I was doing, hold on, let me find my long test session here that I did. I gotta find the laps. I've got it here somewhere. Hold on, let me look. Oh no, that's Stafford. Dover, 89. Truck silver. Truck Silverado, Dover. There we go. There it is. So we did 55 laps. So this was on 110-degree track. And oh, that's not the last setup. Where's that? That was the first setup. God dang. I don't know where it's at. Anyways, the setup that the insider setup was on like 110-degree track or something like that, and it did. Oh no, I don't want to close all of them. It was not that much of a fall off. I think it was like low 23s to low 24s. It was like a second or something like that. So yeah, we should be good. Okay, let's pull up the run that we just did here. So we did 14 laps, which is good. That'll give us enough of an idea. If we look at the tires here, so this is what I was talking about. Okay, look at this. The right front has got more wear it's got less wear than the right rear. So, what was that, David? Yeah, it was about 50 laps. We've got more wear on the right rear than the right front. That should not be happening at a track like Dover. Okay, as much force that's being put on the right front going into the corner and coming out of the corner, right? Because you can burn up your right front just as much on exit, if not more, than entry. So, if we look here, suspension, dynamic load. Actually, let me see. So right front corner, my load, 7, so 27s, 28s, 20, high 27s, high 28s. Yeah, high 27s and high 28s. So the load going into the corner here on the right front, we've got, you know, 2,900 pounds, 2,800 pounds, 2,700. Like those are the highs going in and out of the corner. Should be expected. Now the right rear, we've got 22, 22, 25. We've got less load. 25, 23, 26, 25, 25. We've got a little bit less. But we do have, it looks like we do have some more higher spots going through here. And I'm betting, where's my spring load? Let me open that up. Yeah, on the springs, yeah, we got quite a bit more. With the roll stiffness, it's more on the right front, but that's just with the ARB, and that's not going to be 100% accurate because that's combined. So yeah, so okay, so we need to actually shift some weight. I'm thinking probably shocks. We'll get to that later. I'm thinking probably, if that was only 14 laps and we've already got that. Now looking at the spread, the actual right front tire spread actually looks pretty good. 260, 266, 275. We should probably still take a little bit of camber out of that. Go to 2.8. But I think I need to move this ballast up. Let's go to negative 10. So 47, 66, 48, 37. Oops, let's go 1, 1. There we go. Okay, now you can see here, though, that just changed our deflection number up front by quite a bit. So we got to fix that because we need that closer to 5, right? And I actually don't want that much preload in this. And we still got too much deflection. So you know what? We might have to actually, now that we've got this ballast forward, we're going to have to put a stiffer spring on this left front. There we go. 5. Remember, that's what we want. We want about an inch left of deflection. So that's pretty good right there. We're going to put that because I want that left side to be... I want that left side tilted a little bit lower than the right side. Okay. That's good. And, oh, I need to take the rake back out. So hold on, let's drop that back down. Where are we at right now? 1.9? 1.9? Yeah, 1.9 might be good. I'm thinking maybe more like... maybe 1.8. And that's at 2 right now. Actually, you know what? Let's go with 2. Let's see what happens with 2. I got a little bit less crosswind. Let's see what happens with 2. Since we've got that ballast forward, let's see how the truck reacts to that. And I want exactly 4 degrees on the caster split. I do think I need this probably at 2.8, not 2.9. There we go. Okay. I think I'm gonna need to adjust that track bar some. Track's cooling off. The track's gonna be a lot hotter than this. It'll definitely be hotter than this. I'm gonna be playing iRacing. Nice, Dragon. Are you posing this video or is it only available live? Jordan, this one I will actually be posting it. Normally my live streams now are reserved for the members of the winner's circle. But this one, the setup one, it will be available to everybody. So yes, this recording will be available to everyone. So yeah, you don't have to just stay here and watch the whole thing. You'll be able to catch the recording. It'll go up. It'll basically be up whenever I'm done. So yeah. We don't talk about Atlanta. Yeah, Atlanta was rough. That's alright, it happens. Yeah, it should have been. You know, it was a win in the bag, but like I said, man, those things happen. Mason, is there a way to purchase the Asphalt Oval Motec workbooks? Yeah, Mason, there is. Go to schoolofsimracing.net and scroll down on the homepage. You'll see the NASCAR Motec workbooks. You can buy them individually. There's one for the truck, the Xfinity, and the Next Gen Cup car. Or you can buy all three of them, and you save some money when you buy all three. And right now, I believe it's still going on. We were doing a special for Easter. If you use the coupon code SSR at checkout, it gives you like another 20% off or something like that. So yeah, they're available for purchase. And they come with the, walkthrough, kind of what I look at, how I look at it, that type of thing. So yeah, they're on the website. Alright, so now that we got the tires kind of warmed up, what I'm going to do now, because this actually feels pretty good, I'm going to push this thing hard. Like, to the limit hard. I want to see how hard I can push this thing and how bad it's going to get. Right? Like, is it going to stay good and we're going to be able to get some life out of the tires, or is it going to get to where I can't drive the damn thing after 20 laps? We haven't even got to the shocks yet or the track bar, and this thing feels this good. We might have really struck gold just with the base setup being dead on. It does still feel a little tight though. It was a good race. So yeah, it was a good race. It was fun, man. I mean, like, the ending was heartbreaking, but it was a fun race. I've had a lot of fun in these Road to Pro races, man. I really have. Even though I've had some heartbreaking results in terms of, like, getting wrecked and stuff when I've been either in position or on, on pace to have really good finishes, like top 3 finishes. Overall, it's been a lot of fun, man. I really enjoy it. But I'm really looking forward to Dover this week, just with, the truck Road to Pro race. I'm going to run NIS. I'll probably have to run the Sunday morning NIS. But I am going to run it. I will live stream that because my son has a baseball game Friday night, so I can't do the Friday night one. The NIS setup, I got 90 laps out of one of those setups. There's actually 2 setups this week for the next gen car. There's one setup that I kind of sacrificed the long run a little bit, to get a little bit more short run speed out of it, but you can still get 60 laps out of the tires. And then the other one, which is like really long run, and it could go a whole tank of fuel. You can run it out of gas, and the tires will still be good enough that you can drive it straight and push it. It's just not as fast on the short run. So I didn't know what to give people. I was like, I'll just give them both. Because if you end up in a split, right, with a bunch of cautions, you're going to be like, man, I wish I had that short run set up. Or if you end up in a split, you know, where you're like, hey, it's, you know, maybe you're like a 2500 3K I rating driver or something. You know, we have people like that in the Insider program, right? Like, they're going to want something for a long run, right? Their splits aren't going to be wrecking every 10 laps. So all right, so I'm pushing this thing hard, and it's already dropping off quite a bit. It's starting to get tight in the center. Now, granted, I'm not even lifting all the way off the throttle going into the corner. I'm still maintaining throttle, so I could, like right now, I'm trying to torture the tires. I really am. Always remember, it's not just how hard you drive in or how fast you drive in or how much you're turning the wheel. Those are not the only factors that wear your tires, right? How you lift off the throttle, how you brake, all of that stuff, right? The weight transfer, everything has an effect on your tire wear. It's not just, oh, I'm going fast and turning hard. Like, that's not it. That's why people who say, oh, we'll just run a 14-to-1 steering ratio and you'll save your tires. No, you won't. It doesn't matter the steering ratio. It matters how you're driving the car, okay? Steering ratio is, you know, if you're someone like me, I barely like to turn the steering wheel. I can run a 10-to-1 if I wanted to. The only reason I run a 12 is because that's kind of the default for most drivers, and that's what I put in the Insider setups, so I don't want to be used to running a 10 and then have to use a 12 when I build those. Other than that, I would have a 10. Like, I would prefer to barely turn the steering wheel. But it's not just how much you're turning the wheel, how you go into the corner, how fast, how hard you get on the throttle on exit, right? Trucks, obviously, it's not going to be as big a deal, right? Because they don't have the power, you know, as even like they're not going to abuse the rear tires like in the Xfinity car will or like the next gen will, but they can absolutely burn the hell up out of the front tires. Like, if you're really, damn it, if you're really hard on the entry, should have turned damage off. That's okay. That might happen during the race, so we'll just keep going. But you can see how tight this thing's getting. But if you're going into the corner and you're like, boom, hard on the brakes like that, like, dude, that'll burn your tires up like crazy. Because you're shifting all that weight forward, you're carrying all that speed. Likewise, if you're doing what I was doing in the beginning, not getting all the way out of it and just turning hard, putting all that force on it, look, the damn thing don't even want to turn anymore, right? So it's how you drive the thing overall. We haven't even gone half a tank of fuel yet, and I've already smoked these tires. Well, I shouldn't say I smoked them, because I don't think I've smoked them, but I've made it to where the car doesn't want to handle very good anymore. Got out of the seat fix. He's had a long range drive. Tires matter. Tires matter a ton. The Road to Pro race this week is 120 laps. Training for sprint cars. I've really hit a wall in my progress and need some training. I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing wrong. doing wrong? I'm not horrible, but I could be a lot better. Well, Trent, we just started a training today. The 2022 Sprint Car Road to Pro program. I mean, it literally just started. I just put up the first training video today. Me, Shay, and Greg are doing it. The first couple modules, the first 2 weeks is going to be me. Shay and Greg will be coming. They'll be doing a lot of the training videos when we get to more of the advanced stuff, because they're pros, right? Like I can teach you how to do it while they can teach you how to do it, and they've got the experience to give you a lot of those actual lessons and stuff. So we have that going on right now. That literally just started. But that it's a couple $100 for that, because it's a 6-week program, and then we keep working with you all the way through the pro qualifier. Like, if you're someone who's like, look, I want to try to be a pro, like, we're going to actually work with you, we'll meet with you each week during pro qualifier and help you get ready and stuff like that. So that's why it costs that much, because it's such a long thing. But in terms of just like trainings and stuff like that, like I do one-on-one sessions. We have a lot of free stuff on, on the YouTube. I have a lot of free training videos and stuff on here on the YouTube video. So, I really need, I have to kind of talk to you and see about what's going on exactly. What's your I rating? What's your I rating right now, Trent? Damn, this thing is tight. Alright, so we definitely got to loosen this thing up more. A whole lot more. Because it's way too tight after, we're not even through a half a tank of fuel yet. It's too tight. We've already dropped off. My fastest laps were 22.9 on this run. We're already at 25.1. Whoa! We just did a 24/7 after that. So we're a second off. We're dropped off a second. Hell, 2 seconds. Alright, let's finish out this lap and then we'll pull into the pits. Which is another thing. Whenever you're building setups or testing or practicing, don't just pull off the track. I know I did this earlier, but I only had a few laps. But when you've actually gone out and run 20, 30 laps, don't just pull off the track and tow to the pits. Actually work on doing a pit stop under, on worn out tires. Right? Like, I came in a little too hot there, but practice on worn out tires. I remember I was having a ton of trouble with green flag pit stops coming off the track under green. And I had done a live stream and I freaking spun out, dude, like an idiot. Just spun out by myself trying to pull off the track. And I think it was at Vegas. And so, like, that next day, like, I went and I practiced pulling off the track, pit stops, pulling off the track. And then I go out and I'm racing and I run like 40 laps and I go to pull off the track and I spin out. Well, I had been practicing on fresh tires. When I pulled off during the race, I was on 40 lap tires. It wasn't the same. So anytime you got worn tires, practice pulling off that track, man, like a pit stop. Like, practice like you're doing a green flag pit stop. Yes, Donkey, I actually do think the middle and high line can work here. Absolutely. I wouldn't be up on the wall. Like I said earlier, I think about 3/4 of the way up will work really well, but I do think it'll work. Yes. All right, so let's look here. So look at that right front. We smoked the right front. Okay. Now, you can see here, this is a good thing to know. So our right front, I abused the hell out of that thing, which I was trying to do. That's what I was wanting to do. We had it over 300 degrees on the carcass, all right? So, and that was only 32 laps. 300 degrees on the tires is kind of like the point of no return. Like, you want to kind of try to keep your tire temp. You want to try to keep your tire temps between like 260 and like 285, 290. If you can keep them in that zone, if you've got a setup that they'll stay kind of within that zone consistently, even when you're pushing hard, then you've got something that'll be really good. Once you get above like 300, like now you're just killing your tires. Like you're just melting them. So if you're up over 300, you see that you're up over 300, especially after just 32 laps or whatever, like we've got too much going on that right front, way too much. So first of all, let's make sure that our ride heights are still good. And they are. That's where I want to see them. Coil bind, we're still good there. Let me check so rake angle on the truck is just below a degree. We're averaging about 1 degree. So that's actually kind of where I want it. It's about where I want it. Downforce numbers look pretty good. What are we getting coming off the corner here? That's about what I want to see. So towards the end of the run, what are we getting? This 800 might be a little too much. Maybe not on exit. Yeah. Okay, so that's okay. Splitter, is this thing... Well, it's not rolling over nearly as much as it was, so that's good. Yeah, you can see our splitter angle staying positive, which is good. Negative splitter angle means that the left side's higher than the right side. That's not happening. We want that right front to be higher than the left front. Okay, so that's all good. Suspension. Now, this is what we need to look at here, because... Let's look at the first 15 laps here. And so going into the corner, 1169, this was 68. All right, so hold on, let's check. Where's my dynamic weights? So dynamic cross weight is actually pretty low. I thought we had a little bit more than that. So our dynamic cross weight going in is only 50%. 49.3 through the middle, and then 50 on exit. See, I would like it to be a little bit higher than that on the dynamic cross weight. I'm thinking, you know what? Let's do this. So we need to loosen it up. The front end actually feels good in terms of the drive, the grip. Like, it doesn't feel like it's rolling over that right front like it was before. We're just burning up the tires, you know? So I don't want to actually move that ballast back, because I don't think that's actually the problem. And I've got the ride heights kind of where I want them. They feel pretty good. So let's actually do this. I think we actually need to loosen this thing up. Let's loosen this thing up on the rear end. So let's go with the track bar here. I'm going to leave the left side. I'm going to put some track bar rake in it. Let's actually add 2 inches of track bar rake. Now that's going to take my skew out of the rear end. That kind of sucks, because I really wanted to have that at 6/32. Damn it. That's all right. We can still work with that. So 2 inches of track bar rake. Let's go with that. Let's save this as 3. Oh, that's the other thing I didn't check, was the engine temp. So, engine temp, the high was 254. So 60% tape is good. 260, about 260 is what I shoot for. This is at 254, and the track temp is only 89. It's only been around 90 degrees is like the high. Like I said, the track that I did on the schedule for the Road to Pro, it was more like 100 to 110 in the 3 sessions that I did. So that tape should be good. Because it should be getting hotter during the day. The race is literally smack dab at noon. So track will probably be getting hotter during the day. Alright. Okay, before I even go any further, I've got to fix this steering wheel offset. It's driving me nuts. When I go down the straightaway, I want my steering wheel to be straight. I don't want it to be cocked to the left. So, I think 4 degrees. Really? On what setup? The Insider setup? Really? Well, loosen that bad boy up. Well, this track is about 12 to 15 degrees cooler than what I built that setup on. Alright, so we're going to give this about 2 laps for the tires to come to temp. Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. Either that or just take a little bit of crossweight out of it. What was the left rear at? And what was your right front at again? Damn, you smoked that thing. Alright, so this feels pretty good. Now I'm gonna push it hard. My tires are up to temps, now we're gonna push the hell out of it. Thing sticks right on the bottom. Oops, I hit the apron. Although the bottom is actually not really the line here. You almost want to run kind of like a diamond line or kind of a cut down line. That'll be really like your best opportunity to pass people. If you can come in like around the middle like this and then accelerate, get underneath them, and then just beat them on this next corner. I find that kind of the best way to pass here. Or if they're on the bottom, just drive around them on the outside. I do enjoy doing that here at Dover. It is kind of fun to just drive around people on the outside. She almost got loose there. Almost lost her. And here, I really want this thing to drive through the corner, especially, you know, I want to be able to have the throttle down pretty much from the middle out. I want to be almost full throttle. And I want it to really drive off the right rear so it's turning the car with the throttle and not the right front. I just want to use that right front to get into the corner. Once we get to the apex, I want everything else to be basically that right rear that gets us off. And the left rear too, but to get it to where the balance is, to where the right rear is driving us around. I basically try to set my asphalt cars up like a dirt car. That off. Here we go. Alright, so it feels pretty good. But I can tell that the right front is starting to go away now. So it seems like once we get about, right now, with the setup the way that it is, it was kind of similar before too. After about 4 gallons of fuel, however many laps that is, seems like that's where it starts to kind of tighten up on me. Feels like that right front's, you know, going just a little too much still. Oh, okay, that sounds more like it. You had me scared there for a minute. I was like, dang, what happened? Yeah, 56 laps. That sounds a little bit more in line with what I was thinking, or what I shouldn't say thinking, but what I did, what I saw. My right front wasn't down at 20%, but it was still pretty bad. But I had been pushing it pretty hard the entire run. The main thing about that setup is that it's got short run speed, but if you want to, you know, have it go for a long run, you can take care of the tires and it's still got the speed for when you need it. At least for me anyways. Alright, she's definitely starting to slide around on me now. Coming up out of that corner, you hear that when we come up over that transition out of the corner. Listen very carefully. It's hard to hear, but hear that little rev up? That's the right rear sliding just slightly coming out of the corner when we come up over that transition. this thing's starting to, the back end's starting to get loose on me now. The truck's kind of sliding a little bit coming out of the corner. Now here's the thing though, and this is what a lot of people never think of, or I should say never realize. What's happening is the truck is actually, the rear end is actually not that loose. The reason why it's doing that is because it's tight, right, through the middle, and I'm putting a lot of wheel into it, and by the time we get to the end of the corner on the exit, now that those front tires are finally getting enough grip that it's turning and it's oversteering, and now it's the rear end's starting to kick out on it. So believe it or not, the truck is actually still a little too tight. Right there on the late entry, feels like it doesn't want to rotate enough. So right there, it should rotate just a little bit more. Even right now, it should have a little bit more rotation in it. And really, there's two ways, or I should say, there's two adjustments that you can really do for that, right? In terms of major adjustments. So a minor adjustment would be the shocks, and we're going to tune those after we get everything else dialed in. But it would be the track bar or the left rear spring. On a track like this, I'm thinking more of along the lines of the left rear spring. Right? The more we raise that track bar, the more we're raising the roll center, which is going to make the truck roll more. I don't want it to roll more. Remember, I want it to squat, and I think if I soften up that left rear spring some, that'll help with this issue. Now, what am I turning? Let's look at our... Versus our best lap in the session. So our best lap in the session is a 22.9. That was at the beginning of the last run. We won't count this lap because I was playing around with one hand trying to turn this on, but let's look at this next lap time. We're right about where we were last time, about halfway through fuel. Yeah, we've dropped off quite a bit. We're already down almost a second. $24.5. And remember, I want to be pushing it hard right now. Because the only way that you're going to find the limit of your setup, of what you can get out of it, is you got to push the truck to that limit. So what I always do is I'm always, when I'm doing this stuff, when I'm building it, I'm pushing it to the limit. Once I get the tires warmed up after like 2-3 laps, I push it to the max. Because I want to see what's going to happen to it. Because when I think I've got it finally dialed in, like close, then what I'll do is, alright, then what I'll do is I will go out and I will do a long run, like a 60 lap run, but I'll only push it like 90 to 95% the whole run. And when you do, I'm sitting here looking at the camera running into the wall. When you do that, it's amazing at how much more time you gain over the course of the entire run. Like, it's incredible how much faster it is. I mean, it's just like right out of Days of Thunder. Like, his way, my way. I was 6 seconds faster. Like, it's really that big of a difference. It's a huge difference. Alright, let's see what we got here. So first of all, tire wear. So we're in the 60s like we were before, but look at the right rear. Remember, last time the right rear was in the 80s. This time it's in the 70s. So that right rear is really sliding out now. We changed that right rear track bar. We raised it up, and now that thing's sliding. So here's the thing. The best way to tell whether it's the springs or the track bar is this. If the rear end feels like it's sliding, right? Like the car is loose due to a lack of grip, so it's sliding around, that's the track bar. If it feels like it's loose because it's driving around, like it's got grip, right? It's not just spinning, but it's like the car's like driving itself around, that's the rear springs. So what I want to do with this here is, first of all, we need to make sure a couple things here on the old telemetry. So we did 33 laps. That's exactly the same number of laps we did last time. All right. Let's actually compare these two runs. Let's look at the first 16 laps here. So engine temp, that's all good. We know that. Ride heights, almost identical. Beautiful, that's what we're looking for. Coil bind, good. Now I did, if you remember, I did take a little bit of rake out of it. Okay, our overall downforce did decrease some. If you look at the overall downforce of the truck, and this is measured using the rake angle of the truck as our coefficient of lift, the average is down about 15 pounds of force, 14 pounds of force. That might not sound like a lot, but it actually is. And we increased it slightly, not a ton, but slightly on the nose. So we have a little bit more downforce on the nose, less on the rear, right? That can cause the truck to slide some, okay? But little bits matter, man. When I was working on the midgets, and I've told this story before, and the sprint cars, I was doing both. We had multiple cars. And there was a time where I was having to go through on the sprint car and replace all of the bolts that were on there, which were like, you know, like steel bolts, you know, stuff like that, like a grade 8 bolt. And I was having to replace it with titanium bolts. And I remember I had the steel bolt and I had a titanium bolt, and obviously the titanium bolt is lighter, but I was like, Terry, what the hell? This is only a few ounces lighter than this. Why are we doing this? This isn't worth it. And I'll never forget what he told me, because it applies in so many different things. He was like, Tommy, count the ounces and the pounds add up. And what he meant by that was simple. I was looking at it in terms of just that one bolt, right? Like, this bolt's only a couple ounces lighter than this bolt. But here's the thing. When you replace all of them, now you've saved, you know, 15, 20 pounds, right? Like, that adds up. It's the same thing here. Those little bits, they all add up. So, our rear, oh, dang it. I didn't want to do that. Yeah, and see, look at this, man. Our right rear spring load, huge difference. Almost 160 pounds difference. So we have 160 pounds less load on the right rear in terms of our spring load. Now keep in mind, we didn't change the right rear spring. We changed the track bar. But that's the thing, when you raise the roll center, it rolls more. The more it rolls, people think like, oh, it rolls over, it's putting more weight there. No, it's not. It's the weight is rolling over to that corner, but it's not being applied to the tire. It's not being applied to the contact patch. So we're going to go a different route with this. I'm going to actually drop this back down. We're going to go to... Let's actually go to 11.5. Oh, I can get that back to 6. Sweet. So let's go to 11.5. And what I'm going to do to loosen this thing up is I'm going to actually drop down. Let's go to a 6 1/4 left rear spring. Okay. Hit that. All right, now right front tire temp, that's a pretty good spread. I mean, we smoked the tire, but that's a good spread, so our camber is good. If we go over here and we look at our tires, we look at cambers here, as we're going around the track, and let's get rid of that overlay because we don't need to see that right now. As we're going around the track, right, you can see our right front, nice and even. That's what I want to see. I want to see that right front nice and even. Same thing on the right rear, nice and even. Right side temps are hottest temp. Now keep in mind, these tire temps that it's showing us, right? So iRacing shows, this is the carcass. So if you took, you know how they got those holes in the tires, they actually take that temperature gauge and they stick it in there. This is actually getting like the temperature like through the whole entire tire, right? It's like it's the actual whole thing of rubber, right? The carcass. Motec, this would be like if you took a heat gun and pointed it at the tire, just getting the outside temp. So there's going to be a big discrepancy between what you see in here and what you see in here, right? Because this is at the end, they're actually putting that gauge into the tire. Or this, like I said, this would be, imagine there's just a heat gun pointing on the tire. Completely different. But the main thing we want to look at is the spreads, right? What's the difference in the spreads? And we can see here that, look, towards the end of the run, right, this thing's getting way over 300 degrees, which we don't want to see. We don't want to see it getting that hot because remember, like I said, 300 degrees is like the point of no return. Once we get past that, now we're just melting the tire. So when did we get above 300 degrees? Let's go to right side. Lap 19. So from lap 18, our high was 283 on the right front. Lap 19, our high was 307. So I don't know what I did that one lap, but I mean, it was just like we just opened Pandora's box and now we're just killing the right front tire. And you can see here, it's at its hottest coming out of the corner. Turn 4. Okay, so dropping that left rear spring some should help with that. All right, lowering that right side track bar, that is going to tighten it up some, but we adjusted that spring, which should help. That should compensate for it. And then I do think we look here, left fronts in the, that's 98 because that's not touching. But if we look here at the center, we're at 90. This is at 92. I actually think we could move that ballast back. Let's go 5 inches. Actually, no, that's a little too much. Let's go 3.5. Let's split the difference. Well, we'll go 3. Okay. I got a little too much tilt in it. I want that at 2.8, not 2.7, 2.8. Our deflection's good. Our crosswind went down some, but we're still above 54%. That's good. That's about where I want to see it. I want to see it between like 54 and 55 right now. I think that'll be pretty good. Okay, so let's save this as number 4. And I'm thinking we're pretty close. I really do. I think we might actually be there. We're gonna do this run, and then after this, I think we might be ready to do our shocks, and then we're good to go. God dang, it's already almost 7:15 here. Man, time flies. What lap am I on? Lap 91. So remember, it was 18 laps. That would be 99. Plus 10, so that'd be 109. So lap 110 is what we're kind of looking at in terms of our point of no return on the tires. Tire temp should be up. Let's start pushing this thing now. Whoa!
Outside.
Go! Nice save. Sorry, David. I was getting ready to get my fastest lap of the session. I was pushing a little too hard, just tapped David's back end there. That does feel better. It doesn't feel like it's rolling as much. It feels like, and coming out of the corner, it feels like it's squatting more on the left rear, which it should be since it's got that softer left rear spring in it. Damn wall. It might almost be a little too loose now, but we'll see. We'll see where it's at after, you know, after a few laps. God dang it. Stay off the wall, Tommy. I need like a button anytime I do something dumb. So I can have that clip from, you guys probably never seen the movie Napoleon Dynamite, where he's like, idiot. This thing's dropped off a ton. We're already in the mid 23s. Still feels good though. Alright, we're just about to that, kind of that line in the sand. God dang it, I hit the apron. Now the truck still feels good. Like I can still put it where I want to. You guys can see, I mean, I can drive it with one hand basically while I'm putting in a piece of gum. So it still feels pretty good. We'll have to see what it's like in just a couple more laps here. And it still rotates the center really good. It's kicking out on me now. It's not that it won't turn. Now it's turning too much. It's actually loose on throttle. See that? But I think we can still work with that though. Try the higher line here and see how it does. See how it wants to come around on me when I get the throttle all the way down in the middle there? So it's just a little too loose in the middle once we get some wear on that right rear tire. And we're not very far after our, 18 lap, 19 lap range. So I'm thinking what we did is instead of smoking the right front, I think we smoked the right rear now. Now you guys know why it takes me so long to build these damn setups. Freaking tedious. Okay, so let's look at the tire temps real quick. It's not going to be nearly as much because we didn't look at that. We smoked the right rear as opposed to the right front that time. So moving the ballast definitely affected it. But here's the thing. I'm not going to put that ballast back up front. I'm going to actually leave it there because I think our balance is actually pretty close. What I'm going to do is I'm going to soften that right rear spring. Dang it, I forgot what the ride height was. I wasn't paying attention. 6894. We're going to soften the right rear spring. I do want to put a little bit more crosswind into it. Oops. 1, 2, 1. Two. All right, so 55%. That preload, I don't like running over 100. That's close enough. Our deflection changed slightly, but I think we should still be good there. I do think we should still be good there. 12.5, that doesn't change it. Well, no, that doesn't change anything. Let's go back to 13. Let's just leave it there. That should still be okay. We should be all right. If we bottom out the first couple laps, we'll be okay. All right, I think that this is going to be pretty close. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save this as 5. And now let's actually pull up. Let's look at that last run. And what we want to do is, because we're actually getting short here on time, what we want to do is let's actually look at our... Oops, hold on, let's check this real quick. Okay, so that looks good. All right, I'm happy with that. Okay, so now let's take a look at... Ride heights are still good. Coil bind is still good. Okay, so none of that changed. That's good. All right, so what I want to see here now is, now we're going to start tuning our shocks. So basically when it comes to this, I got to get this uploaded, these updated workbooks, because I've got this shock force and shock brake, which is new. This is not in the workbook, the one that is on the website. I got to get this uploaded to everybody who got the truck workbooks. So the shock brake, I didn't know what else to call it. This is what the shocks are doing when we go into the corner, or when we're basically off throttle. As you can see, it's basically when we're below the throttle, what's called the throttle mean. Okay? So it's showing us what's happening with the shocks when we're going into the corner. Shock force is what's happening when we're on throttle exiting the corner. All right? And then shock tuning, it's just showing us what the shocks are doing all the way around. So the first thing that I have to set is we're going to look at all these laps here, and we need to go to the suspension histogram, because the first thing that I got to set is the slope. You always want to set your fast speed stuff first, okay? Now, this doesn't have high speed compression and high speed rebound, but it does have the high speed compression slope and high speed rebound slope, and that's what we want to set first, all right? So the slope is literally this right here. It's this angle, okay? So you can see here that this has got a really high slope, which is what you would call like a digressive shock. Now, keep in mind, one of the reasons this is so high is because the left front is coil bound. So it's going to register like this because it's not getting a whole lot of movement out of it, right? The shock is still working, but because it's coil bound, it's not going to have nearly as much movement as like the right front or the rest of these. Now, this right here, a lot of people see this in before. I'd be like, oh, wow, this is about perfect. This looks pretty. But that's not exactly what we want to see. That little perfect pyramid is not always what we want to see, okay? This is quite a bit of movement on the high-speed stuff, and mostly that's going to come from, if we go here to the shock tuning here, if we look at this section right here, right? This is going over that transition going into the corner. You can see here on the right front, we have a massive bump. Look at that, 13, almost 14 inches a second. That shock is moving, right? Now, we don't have a high-speed compression to adjust that. We can do a little bit with the low speed, but mostly it's going to be the slope that kind of fixes this, and we're not going to get rid of that because we don't have the specific high speed or specific high speed compression setting to adjust it. What we can do is we can make it to where the truck is just comfortable going over these, okay? So what I want to do is I'm going to actually, the higher you make this slope number, okay? So 5 would be like in the middle, all right? A 1 would be like a linear shock. Okay, a linear shock is the more the more it moves up, or the more compression, the more force, right? It's just linear. It's just boom, boom, right? This all the way up would be digressive, okay? So I'll show you just so you guys can have an example here. Oh, actually, let me see. Do I have the... There we go. No, that's not going to work. So let me see. Shock, dyno, linear, shock. Okay, so we look here, all right, at this right here. This would be a linear shock, okay? As the force increases, the velocity increases, right? This is linear, okay? So that would be a linear shock, all right? Now, a digressive shock is going to look something like this, where it's got an altered curve to it, or something like this, where it actually, it has what's called like a blow off. So it has a blow off in it, so now it's going to control it much more. That would be linear, okay? Or excuse me, that would be digressive, okay? So a digressive shock is going to help you over like big bumps, you know, iRacing call it like big curb strikes, but it also helps control the aerodynamic platform of the car much better. Now, here's the thing. It doesn't mean you just want to max everything out and run digressive shocks. You don't want to do that, because it can make it feel really stiff, okay? So what we want to do is we want to balance it out. Remember, shocks are all about comfort, man. There's what really make these things comfortable. So what I want to do is on the front, I want to go a little bit more linear on the slope, and what we're going to do is on the left front, okay, we're going to actually be a little bit more linear than the right front, all right? And the reason why is, remember, if we look here at our suspension histogram, you can see that the left front has a lot more slope than the right front, okay? So I'm going to make it a little bit more linear than the right front. Now keep in mind, right now we're just doing the compression side, which is this side right here, the bump, okay? So what we're going to do is this should make this a little bit more linear, which is going to be, instead of it kind of having this curve to it, it's going to be more flat like that, okay? So that's on the bump, the compression, okay? Now, once we have that though, right? So that's going to be, we're going to hit that bump and it's going to be linear. It's going to absorb that bump. But now on the rebound, right? We don't want it to come down and then just boom, pop back up. We want it to come down and then settle, okay? So what we'll do to compensate that is we're going to make the rebound more digressive, all right? So I'm going to go to an 8 on the left front, and we're going to go to a 7 on the right front, okay? That's where we're going to start off. Now, you can see I'm not messing with the low-speed stuff. We're leaving that for right now, all right? The high-speed stuff affects the low-speed, so I want to get these slopes dialed in first before I mess with that low-speed stuff, okay? On the rear, going to actually do kind of the opposite, all right? So on the rear, I'm going to actually make this a little bit more digressive on the compression and a little bit more linear on the slope, or on the rebound. God. All right. Now, because the left rear, right, when we're coming up over that transition, right, that bump kind of goes like this, right? So it's steeper on the left side than the right side. So because of that, I do want the left side slope, the left side compression slope, to be a little bit more linear than the right side. So we're going to go to a, yes, I want it to be more linear. So we're going to go to a 6 on the left rear, but I'm going to go to an 8 on the right rear. And then on the rebound, all right, same thing. what we're going to do for the rebound is I'm not going to actually drop it down that much. We're going to go to a 3 and a 4. All right? So that's going to be our slopes. Now, we're going to look at this shock tuning here. And I want to see these last few laps as the tires start to wear. Okay? And I want to see what's happening on throttle through the corner here. So right front. So here on the right front, we're in the rebound phase, but on the left front, we're in the compression, which makes some sense if you think about how we're turning through the corner there, okay? And then as we pick up the throttle, and we're coming up over, you can see that our right rear and left rear about the same in terms of the highs on the compression. If we zoom in here, you can see that we do have some rebound phase through here. All right, a little bit of compression. If we look over here, a little bit. So I'm actually thinking I want to have just a little bit more on the low speed side. Okay, that's what I'm thinking. Now, I'm not going to do that. It's just I just kind of want to have that thought in my head because I want to be paying attention to what the car's doing. All right. Now, because man, we're almost out of time. So what I'm going to do here is I'm not going to run a long run. I'm just going to run a few laps because I just want to get a feel for this thing in terms of how I got my shocks dialed in on the slope. So we're really looking at going into the corner and out of the corner. See how controlled that was going into the corner there? Coming out of the corner, nice and smooth. Little bit of a bump there. I didn't let off enough though. I drove it in pretty deep. That feels really good. I mean, that thing's smooth through the transition. Even when we hit those big bumps in turn 3, like it's smooth. It's absorbing it just the way that I want it to. Now the truck feels, since we softened that right rear spring, the truck does feel a little bit tighter through the middle, which is okay because I can actually fix that with the shocks. Once you get the setup about 85% of the way, 80% of the way there, the shocks will give you that last 20%. Even in terms of handling, like if it feels a little tight, like you can loosen it up with your shocks. Alright, so let's pull in. Okay, so that actually feels really good. So those slopes feel good. Now here's the thing. they feel probably much better than they look. Let's see actually how they look real quick. Yeah, see? That is not as pretty as it was before, but that's okay. It feels better than it did before, and that's all that matters. That's what matters. All right? Remember, we use this as a guide, not the end-all be-all. Okay? So what I want to do now is I'm thinking we're going to loosen this thing up slightly. Okay? So we're going to increase the left front low speed, decrease the right front. That should loosen it up some on entry. Okay? Our low speed rebound, and I've actually got a thing here, which is really handy. I need to make this for you guys, especially now with as much stuff as we do with the shocks now. So with the shocks here, decreasing the right front bump, increasing the left front, gonna loosen it up some, and more oversteer. And I found this online by a guy named Pat Dodson. The reason I want to kind of do my own, because this gets kind of confusing, because people get confused by the way that this is. So basically, if you want more oversteer, if you want to loosen it up, this is what you do, is over here. Now, the thing is in the middle of the corner is where I want to loosen it up just a little bit more on throttle. Remember, we dropped that right rear spring, so that's going to tighten that thing up. So what I want to do here is we've already increased the left front bump, okay? So I'm going to decrease the left front rebound. I want to actually decrease both rebounds. See, adding more right front rebound will actually loosen it up, but I don't want to hold it down on that right front. So remember I talked about how I was rolling over the right front? So we're going to actually decrease the right front by one click on the front on the rebound, which will tighten it slightly, but we're going to decrease the left front by 2, which should loosen it more, okay? I'm going to leave the... I'm going to actually not leave it. I'm going to decrease the right rear rebound by 1. And I'm going to increase the left rear rebound by 1. So what's that going to do is that's going to hold the left side down just a little bit more than the right side so it doesn't roll up as much. And that should help the car kind of get through that corner better. Okay? So now we're going to save this as -6. All right. And, oh, man. My wife is not going to be happy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out. I'm going to turn just a couple of laps. So lower slope equals more linear. Yes, the lower the number, the more linear the shock, Mason. Yes. The higher the number, the more digressive. Linear shocks are better for bumpier tracks. Digressive shocks are better for like big bumps. You know, iRacing calls it like curb strikes, you know, something like that, or something like this where you have this big transitional bump, or your aerodynamic platform. All right. and this feels really good. The car goes in, it gets set. I can get on the throttle, and I'm not having to add any more steering wheel. I'm taking wheel out as I'm exiting the corner on throttle. It'll hug the bottom. Did you hear that? Coming out of that transition. Listen for it again. Notice how you don't hear it rev up like it was before? Those shocks are doing their job. A little bit right there, but not as much as it was. So the shocks are working. That feels really good. I think this is it. I really do. All that's really left for me to do is do like a 50 lap run. Unfortunately, I don't have time to do that. I gotta go. But this setup is good. It's good to go. I don't have the time to put a 50 lap run on this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this setup to my man David. See if he can throw a 50 lap run on it. Let me know what it does. I think I'm going to call it a night. But I can tell you right now, it should do pretty good. It feels really good. Yeah, I think this setup's pretty good. You take this setup and you run it at about, you push it to 90%, 95%, you can get 60 laps out of this thing. Yeah, you can get 60 laps out of this. I can just tell right now. I've been doing this long enough that I can tell. You can get 60 laps out of this thing. And it not fall off the face of the earth, absolutely. Yep. All right. Yeah, that thing feels good. I think we're good. So I'm gonna save this as the original SSR Road to Pro race. Gonna overwrite it. Bada bing, bada boom. Oh, I gotta put the notes in there. There we go. And that's it. David, you still in this session? All right, I just shared the setup with you that I built in here. Do a long run for I gotta hop off here, so do a long run for me and see. Let me know what you get. Nah, just let me know what the tire wear is. Just send me a message in Discord. Let me know what the tire wear is and what it felt like to you. That should be good. Okay. Yeah, try this one out and see. It's a little bit different than the other one. So, which is a beautiful thing. Right on. Thank you. Which is really a beautiful thing, because the fact that I can create different setups, different methods, right? I can tell you now, the Insider setup is not like that one. The Insider setup has a different left front spring. It has a different shock package on it, a different spring package on it, and different track bars, right? So it's a different setup all the way around. And yet the result overall is still pretty much the same, right? It's got good short run speed, and I should be able to get a long run out. Now, the Insider setup, I know it can go long run because I tested the crap out of it. This one I have not put through a long run yet. David's going to do that for me. I trust him, what he tells me. If it needs any adjustments, I'll make a couple tweaks, and tomorrow morning when I get up here in 6 hours, I'll put it through a long run and see for myself. But other than that, it's good to go. All right. So hopefully you guys, I hope that helps. I really do. Hopefully that helps you guys. And like I said, for those of you who watch this and stuff like that, I will have the recording of this live stream. It will be available here on the YouTube channel. You don't have to be a Winner Circle member to get it. Okay. So you guys want to watch this back and go through different things, stuff like that, because we covered a ton, right? We covered a ton. We've been going for 2 hours now. We covered a lot of stuff in 2 hours. A lot of stuff in 2 hours. So, yeah. So if you guys want to watch it back and stuff like that, you can. But anyways, you guys, that's going to do it all for this one. Thank you guys very much, as always, for joining me. Like I said, I will be back hopefully tomorrow. My plan is to do a live stream tomorrow during the day. I'm planning on sometime around 11 a.m. Pacific, which would be 2 p.m. Eastern, something like that. It'll be during the day. I gotta go get new tires on my wife's car and all stuff like that. So if I get all that stuff done, I'll do a live stream tomorrow. If I don't end up doing something tomorrow, I will definitely be back on Thursday when we run the Road to Pro Way. So either way, I will see all of you guys very, very soon. But thank you very much, as always, for joining me. Until next time, good luck, good racing, and take care.